What is a woman? For 1,000 years, her role has been defined as daughter, mother, wife, teacher, molded and shaped, obediently trudged within her lane, when really she wants to fly. See, I've got an author I'd like you to meet whose book deals with risk and failure, trauma and loss, identity and redemption, about breaking through the roles the universe defines for a girl and the woman she becomes. It's a story about all people who step into unladylike roles, such as first responders, soldiers, breadwinners, self-made self-thinkers, especially a woman who dares to dream outside the lines and suffers the madness that comes with it. Stick around because you're going to learn more about the book and the writing journey this author took to create it.
Welcome to A Book Finds You podcast. This week's guest is E. Elizabeth Gray. Join us as she shares the inspiration behind her book, along with her writing process, routines, and challenges. And now, here's your host, best-selling author, Rob Jolles.
Today's guest, E. Elizabeth Gray, is the author of The Dark Side of Divine, a collection of poetry that tells the story of her experiences as a woman and a first responder. She has dedicated 32 years as a first responder, both as a volunteer in her hometown, Montgomery County, Maryland, and as a professional firefighter for a local federal agency. Currently, she is a special education teacher and completing her certification as a board-certified behavior analyst. She resides in Shepherdstown, West Virginia, with her husband and two sons, where she writes, paints, and plays saxophone in her free time, as if that wasn't enough. Happy to have you with us, and welcome to the show, Erica.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Well, it's a pleasure having you. That the saxophone caught me by surprise there. How long have you been playing the saxophone?
Since middle school. My mother bribed me with playing bassoon for a year if I was going to play saxophone. So I got to play both, and I've been playing ever since.
There you go. What chair did you get to?
In high school, between middle school and high school, it was pretty competitive. I was first chair most of the time.
That's you.
Nobody else played bassoon, but I was first chair saxophone for quite a while.
Well, there you go. Congratulations. All right. You know, the title of the show is A Book Finds You. And so because we don't find the books, they find us. But I think I know what's coming. Still, tell me how this particular book of poetry found you.
So this book is actually I've been writing it my whole life. So ironically, I'm writing 3 other books, and I've been in this huge writer's block for years, I feel like. And one day I said, you know what, I've got a lot of poetry. I'm going to see what comes out. I put it all together and started to see some good themes, and I sent it out with a query, and I got picked up. Some of it was written a long time ago. A lot of, a good portion of it I wrote in the last 5 years. So I really did try to put some new stuff in there too. So it's not just all like angsty teenage poems, but.
Well, be prepared. I will tell you that the first book I wrote, I did the same thing. I was really new at it. I was actually following a book called How to Write a Book. And it got to like chapter 13, now it's time to send out the queries. I could practically hear Walter Cronkite's voice in my head. And I got 2 offers, and well, look at me, I'm an author. And then the next book I wrote took 2.5 years.
Right.
So you never know, but congratulations. That's quite a way to kind of enter the arena. What type of poem is it when you write a poem? Do you begin with the end in mind, or can you see it all from the beginning? How do you do that?
So I'm not like a strict poet. I'm not sure that I ever enjoyed writing poetry in high school. I think I liked writing my thoughts. I liked putting things on paper. I kind of go with a theme, and it really just builds itself. So nearly every piece that I wrote just built itself while I was writing it. There were about 2 that I tried to do as a strict poem. Like, I think it was a villanelle. I was trying to write villanelle. I totally abandoned it about halfway through, but those were much more conceived, but they still kind of wrote themselves in the end. So I really don't know. I don't come at it with a plan. I just kind of write it down and then I make it pretty.
Yeah. Well, you touched on something there. When do you know when it's time to abandon a poem or a story?
No, I really don't. So it's like sometimes like I've abandoned things and people have said, why did you abandon that? It's great. So I think that I go back and I revise and I look at things and almost like I mature when I come back to it and kind of have a better grasp of it. Um, it's like a painting, like it's never done. Like a good
Mhm.
some painters, they get Da Vinci, it's never done. He
Right.
never finished anything. So yeah, sometimes I have to come back a number of times. Some of these things I wrote 30 years ago and abandoned. So I don't know. I think I don't abandon much, but sometimes I do have to cut some out. So
Right.
it just becomes clunky.
Right. No, the business author in me is coming out right now where we kind of follow repeatable, predictable paths to help people do that. You're not that way. It sounds like some come a little easier than others. Some you'll pick out for a while. I remember reading about the Beatles and Lennon. Some of those songs were fast, and some of them took a long time.
Yeah, and some of like I think that some of them were more therapy and just digging through my own self, and some of them are trying to communicate ideals that are in my head that people don't really get, and then trying to put it into words people don't understand. The first responder poems are a lot different, though. A friend of mine had recommended that I write about the the trauma, write about it, and so I did. So those are very powerful.
Right.
Um, I can't do that too often because it's almost too much. So it's
Right.
like, but they're very powerful.
Right. It's interesting because in a sense it sounded like there was almost provided a little bit of therapy there, and I've been working on a project off and on for people who are incarcerated to
Mhm.
write their autobiographies, and it's really very therapeutic to sort of talk about what your first memories are, and what they find is that it's very emotional and they learn a lot. And whether the book gets published or not really isn't quite as relevant. It's necessary because there's some trauma there.
Right. And I think that to a large extent, we have to learn to accept ourselves. And that journey that we're on, isn't always pretty, but it's our journey. We're on that, where we end up is only because of where we've been. So
Right.
I think it's important to own it and learn to accept it. I don't think we can move on until we've learned to accept it.
Right. Now, I don't. I normally don't like talking about other books that are coming out, not because I don't love hearing about them, but frequently it distracts the author
Right.
because sometimes when we're working on a book and it's slowing down and we're really grinding, we chase another shiny penny in the corner and we start working on something else. But you're different. Your book is out. It's fine. It's good. The next book or books that you're looking at, are they books on poetry or are they
No,
fictional
they're
books?
political thrillers. So I have like a trilogy in the works. I'm not allowed to call it dystopian because that's not in right now. So it's a political thriller, and then there's also another one that's kind of shorter and more like it's more spicy. It's about mermaids and they're all history. I love history, so everything
Mhm.
is kind of got some sort of a historical kind of build into it. But yeah, I have three different fictions that I'm working on right now.
And you're working on
Um,
all three of them at the same time?
they're all in my head. They're all
Okay.
in my head. And like I said, the first one, which is my big one, that's probably the one that I've been avoiding the most.
Yeah.
I've already got a trilogy and probably a spin-off. It's all in there. I just got to get it out of my head. So I went into this as a pantser and not a pantser anymore. I'm really trying to be more.
Right. Right.
Uh, but yeah, I think it's going to be exciting when I get to the end of these books. You know, I'm really enjoying that process.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just
Well,
taking.
I tell you, there's nothing like finishing a manuscript.
I
I
know.
remember reading one of Stephen King's books, Misery, and even
Right.
seeing the movie. And as a writer, and I'd already written a couple of books, it really landed on me with the cigar. You remember
Right.
that he had on the computer
Hmm.
waiting for him when that manuscript was complete. And
Right.
from that day, it's not that I smoke cigars, but I always have a little something waiting for me. Uh,
Right.
what about you? Any reward when these are done?
I think that um I don't know. I know that I have some things that keep me kind of going, and that's those little post-it notes that I put around with like just inspiration on them or whatever. But I haven't really looked at the end. Like I'm afraid I'm so torn about how it's gonna end
Right.
that I haven't thought about the ending. So like
Well,
um
you see the chair I'm sitting in, and for people
yeah,
listening, you can't see the chair I'm sitting in, but it's a really nice chair. It's got a plate on the back of it, and on
right,
that plate is the title of one of my books.
right,
So, sometimes I think when we go into writing, and I don't mean just writing, I mean getting it published, getting it out, launching, but completing the task.
right.
It's just one person's opinion, but I wish authors were a little kinder to themselves and just
Mhm.
did something, even if it's a trip, just something to say, that's what you get when you grind and finish. And
Right.
I know our loved ones do it, but we need to take care of ourselves too. So maybe something symbolic. I'm
Yeah,
I'm
I think you
I'm
need a
passing it
cigar.
your way.
You reminded me of long ago when we all sat outside the firehouse and the guys taught us all how to stand and smoke a cigar. There's like a guy way to stand and smoke a cigar, and I can put a cigar there. That could be.
Well, wow. I hope I'm doing it right. That
I don't know. It was
All right, let's get into your routine a little bit.
sure.
Do you have a daily writing routine, or what does it look like when you attack a book?
When I need that's probably part of the writer's block is I have so many things going on that but when I'm really getting into it, like I have a daily writing routine. It kind of swallows me at times, but I like to listen to music while I'm writing. It's a variety of, I'm not sure. Sometimes I'll listen to classical, sometimes I listen to like classic rock. It's just a matter of, and sometimes that'll influence what I'm doing in the writing, but I have to be better about setting aside time
Hmm.
to write. And that's kind of one of my goals right now is just say, hey, let's just do 30 minutes a day. And that way, at least we do 30 minutes. But that's where I'm at. And then I do a lot of research in for some of these books, I do a fair amount of research. What I need to not do is go back and edit the first chapter 87 times, which is what I get
Amen to
stuck
that.
into.
Yep.
So, like, sometimes I have to step back and say, no, we're just going to write the next chapter. We're not going to even go back and look at the others. So, yeah, it's a lot of I'm learning my process as we go. So, I'm not entirely sure that this will be the process I end up with, but
Yeah. Oh, it changes through the years, but it's nice to have a process because I think the toughest thing, particularly for writers who are fairly new at it, is in the movies, there's this inspirational moment and wait to
right,
be inspired. But in reality, for many writers, when the book finds you, there's an inspirational moment. I'm gonna do this, and because an acorn hit you on the head or whatever happened. But
yeah,
then the less glamorous part takes over, which is you just have to grind. Some days are easier than others. So that's why I'm always encouraging people to have a routine. And there is no right routine. There's some people that go, I write 2 hours a day. Good.
right.
Some people write a certain amount of words a week. That's me, by the way. I'd rather not life happens, things change, but I can handle a weekly commitment. I can't necessarily handle a daily commitment. What about
Yeah,
you?
poetry's very different. I
Hmm.
think I have like a ton of journals that I kind of write in at any given time. So it's not like one journal and the next. It's just like I just have a lot of journals. But a lot of my poetry is tied with my art or my music. So I'll hear a song or I'll play a song or I'll draw something or I'll paint something and then that will spark that writing. So a lot of the poetry gets written in one shot, like done.
Mm.
A lot of it. So it's just a lot of different between the two.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a particular place that you like to write? I mean, you have something laid out there. You're in West by God, Virginia.
I am. Oh, we just moved out 2 years ago, but I have like my little hole here in the basement.
Okay.
And in our old house, I also had my little spot. So if I'm like writing on the books, I'm like at a desk and I have access to I have like two screens here. So, and I just kind of dig in, and I do use a lot of sticky notes and things like that. For like all of the other, like the poetry and things like that. I'm usually kind of upstairs in my little reading nook, and just kind of scrolling it out in pencil.
Hmm.
So most my book is almost all just typed in as I do it. So it's just two different processes, but um I like to be around, like I have my instruments. I just like to be around my art and stuff like that.
Right. Do you ever grab the sax, when you're dealing with writer's block? And I want to stay with that for a minute or two because you mentioned
Yeah.
it a few times. So I want to hear how you're battling that. But does the saxophone ever help?
No, usually that's something that I'm like avoiding too. So I'll go and like practice my saxophone, and it's just another, or I'll go paint something. I'm not sure that that's helping. It's probably what I'm doing instead of writing.
Right.
But
My daughter's a piano player,
mhm,
and and what I love about that piano and her is that when she's having a tough day, that
mhm,
piano really helps her. She goes to the piano. It's her therapy.
right,
I always dreamt of that when I was taking my mandatory music classes,
right.
but I never got that way. It was always painful, and I didn't want to do it. But I always dreamt of thinking, wouldn't it be great if you actually went there for comfort? And that's her. That saxophone isn't a comfort for you.
Just a different. It's just a
Yeah.
different. It's a different journey.
Hmm.
Um, because I'm playing jazz now, and it's just a different. I have to learn a lot. It's just a different journey. So I like avoid different things at different times. I have a whole collection of avoidances. But I think that when I do sit down and write, it's like when I find a quiet space,
Hmm.
I taking time for me and intentionally saying this is my time, and not giving it to everyone else, and then being in a quiet space, not devoid of noise, but like quiet as in I don't have all the things coming at me. Like
Right.
that's when I write, and I write for the longest period. So I think I have to be more mindful of that self-care piece and taking my time for me.
Yeah.
That's where I succeed in writing most.
Yeah. Let's stay on that. I remember I told
Mhm.
you I wanted to stick with writer's block with you a little bit because
Right.
you mentioned it a couple times, so I'm not letting it go. We all get it. Welcome to the party.
Right.
And everybody deals with it differently. Well, I guess saxophone wrong. So help me out. What do you do when you're kind of grinding and just sitting there going, I just can't, it's not coming together right now.
So, the first thing like I really try to do is turn off the internet,
Mm,
and just that way it's like I'm not that's I'll find 7 ways to go off on a goose chase on the internet. Um, Sometimes I just go right back to my grid. Like I made this grid for the book after I wrote like a ridiculous amount of words. I mean, I think I was already 50,000 words in before I wrote the grid. Um, and I go back to that and add to it and kind of build through that. So that doesn't require as much. I don't know how to describe it. Sometimes I get in a book and I feel like, oh, I forgot this back here, or oh, I changed this guy's name and I didn't even realize it. And I get back and forth in those woods, and sometimes it's just really overwhelming. I can go back into my grid and just say, well, let's build out here, let's build out there, let's see where we're going. Those things really seem to help a lot. And
yeah.
music keeps me in the game. Um, it
Yeah.
just does.
I hear you. I'll tell you, I'm not sure I've ever mentioned this before, and don't hate me for it, but I've been on my own as a businessman for 33 years now. So I do a lot of work on the road. When I'm not in the road, I'm in my office, and that's where sometimes I'm writing. I've actually not so much the last couple of years, but for most of those 30 years, I actually listened to Howard Stern.
Mhm.
Um, because it's a conversation going on in the background. And to
Right.
me, it just sort of relaxes. So, what we're learning, you and your classic rock, or what we're learning with the jazz, what we're learning from the two of us is something, something
Right.
to kind of occupy us a little bit. That's interesting. The dark side of the divine. Let's
Mhm.
go back to that for a moment. Um, the publishing part of this. Let's get into that publishing journey. You're writing it. Did you have a publisher in mind? Did you finish and then start hunting? How'd you go about getting this thing published?
So this is kind of a great story too, because I'm also a mother and I tell my kids this all the time. I'm like, you can do all the things, you can be wonderful, you can be driven, you can excel at everything, but at the end of the day, who you know gets you places. And that is really, I think, why I have a book. I have a friend who's also a poet, and he was a small publisher, and so I just took a chance and sent it to the same small publisher. I listed him as one of my influences because he was, so when you put in here who's influencing your writing, I put that, and so I went right to the source of one of my major influences. And she, I guess she called him and was like, he's like, yeah, she's great, and that's it. I had a book. So it's highly, I don't think that's ever going to happen again. But it was such a great story that, sometimes you just go to the people around you that are published, and, why not try? Just say, hey, I know this author, they're really great, and here's my work, and
No, to listen.
it's that.
Just so you know, there's a statistic out there that I always find
Mhm.
interesting because I mentor people who are in career transition, and they're working on their star stories and their elevator pitches and their resumes, and I'm hoping they will too. But there's a number out there that says it's right around 85% of the jobs that are
Mhm.
found through network connections.
Yep.
So why aren't we networking more? And when it comes
Right.
into publishing, I don't have a number, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the 80%. It's kind of your game to lose. I don't want to diminish what you did, but it's raining manuscripts. It's raining
Right.
different pieces.
Yeah.
When you come in there with a network connection and I'm the editor or the publisher, okay, at least I know the friend of yours, and that worked out well. And so you do have a head start. Now let's take a look at what you've got. But there can be thousands. Here's a number for you that'll blow your mind. I don't know it in the last 5 or 6 years, but do you know that for the New York Times bestseller list, there's a woman who would get emails to look at books
Right.
that were being proposed for a New York Times review and get on the bestseller list. Just for the reviews now, okay? And she was getting over 1,000 emails a day.
Oh,
And the question came from the audience, wow, what, how do you do that? What do you do with 1,000? She said, I do select all delete. I don't look at any of them, none of
right.
them. So here you tell your story of this network connection, and you can see that even in an individual like that, it's saving them a little time, giving me something. So the message I'm trying to pull from you, and I want people to hear on this show is, please, when it comes to publishing and marketing, the story you just told was not a fluke. It's just
Right.
people underestimate how important networking is. You fell
Right.
into it and you did real good with it. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah. You're what
Yeah,
we
no,
call an unconscious competent. Go ahead.
right. And it was it's a small publisher, so I feel like, we all kind of got a chance to do something. And it was it was a really interesting process. I think we went back and forth editing, like I feel like it was 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And that's not even like the same kind of editing that I need to do on my books, but it was, that getting ready to print kind of editing. And I still think that every time I read it, I find something else that I want to change that
That'll
might,
always happen. Yeah, yeah, you gotta
but
let it go. Let it go. That
right,
child, it's like you got a couple kids. That child that called your
right,
book on poems, that's out in the world now, living its life.
right.
Mom, you gotta let it go. You gotta
So
let it
yeah,
go.
no, and it kept me going because like
Yeah.
she'd come back and say like, you need to go through and fix these things and then tell me anything else you want to change. And I would, we would go back and forth and do that 5 or 6 times. Then I got to learn all about the process. Like I never knew about galley copies or any of that. And
Hmm.
so when that came, it was really kind of cool. I had like a pre-book copy. My cover art, that was, again, she's networking her people. So I guess she recommended a cover artist. That was something I learned, is that a lot of the small publishers won't use Canva for copyright reasons. So I had to go to an artist and she recommended one, and he provided that cover, if you saw the cover, and I was just like, I was blown away. It was really, really good job. He did a great job on the cover. I think he wanted to charge me $35, and I was like, there is no way. Like, I gave him twice that. I probably should have given him three times that, because I didn't think that, I thought that was really low price
Right. Well,
for a cover.
that was generous. And actually, you can go to places, Upwork and Fiverr, and get covers built, particularly for those who are
Right.
self-publishing and listening. And that's kind of some of those numbers. But I'm with you. When somebody does the job, you give them a
Yeah.
real nice tip. Let's put it
He
that
was,
way.
yeah, he did a really great job, and he just kind of really captured everything I wanted to capture, and that was it. So then I still have a box of books
Well,
from the ones I bought, and I feel like sometimes I sell them when I least expect it, and then I give them away a lot, and that's okay, because I feel like it's a journey. It's not, I never meant to make a whole bunch of money off of it, but it's getting a lot more attention now, so
good.
it's kind of
Good. I went to an author's retreat. One of my publishers has a retreat every year. And there were about 70 authors out there. And somebody who came in to speak said, how many of you got some boxes of books around the house? And I mean, the place just roared. That's part of being an author. We all got a few boxes hanging around here a little bit. That's okay. Anyway, all right, let's talk about. Here's a part you probably don't like talking about, which means I can't wait to talk about it. No, the marketing side of the book. All right, so now we got the
terrible.
publisher of the book. Well, many authors are, they don't. We don't like it as much. Any marketing efforts on your end that you want to talk about?
I try. I do. I just this is one.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I think that,
absolutely. Podcasting counts.
yeah, through the Maryland Writers Association has been where I go out and do some of the open mics, or I did sell my book at the convention last year. I haven't done a lot. I try to go on Instagram, and I'm so antisocial on social media that I just don't get out there. But I need to do better. So I am trying to reach out. I have reached out to a couple different groups so that I can get more exposure through other platforms and groups of authors and artists. So
Okay. All
I
right.
need to
Well,
do
it's a
better.
marathon. That's okay. I would tell you it's a marathon, not a sprint. So I don't
Right.
know if that's good news or bad news for you in particular, but which means we're never done marketing our books. But keep an eye out. I think a very simple thing to do, and I'll bet there's a place right around where you are. Look at
Mhm.
some of the little independent
Right.
booksellers, bookstores, and they love when local authors come in. There's one in Kensington, Maryland here who will actually kind of co-op and give you a piece of whatever sells, and you give them a little piece for putting a book there. And it's not much money, and it's a lovely way, and particularly if you live in that neighborhood,
Right.
get your book out there and maybe go into the schools. You work at the school, right? You work as a
I
teacher.
do. I
Yeah.
do. Sometimes it's not a, I feel like it's not a kid friendly book. But
Okay.
but my son's friend bought one, so people have bought them. I've been looking more and more at those independent bookstores. They are good. I need to take the next step on that one
Yeah,
for
just
sure.
don't give up on it. And if if you get conventionally published, if you ever get a book that hits a bigger publisher, they won't ask you, please. It'll
Right.
be part of the deal. So
Probably
the
works for me
indies,
too.
right? The independents and the self-publishers, they'll say whatever you feel like, but might as well get used to it. And it's just, I think with each book you get a little bit more aggressive in your marketing. So we've got some more books coming up. You'll get a little bit more aggressive. All right, we're coming down the home stretch. So here's your assignment. Pretend that there's some people listening right now, because there are, who listen to the show for one reason, because they have the same dream you have. They want
Right.
to write a book, but they're stuck. They're stuck in that think about it phase. What would you tell somebody who's dreamt of writing a book? to help them kind of get started?
I would say do it. You have nothing to lose. I've wanted to write a book all my life, and even if it's not a number one bestseller, even if you self-publish, that is a piece of work that you've created, and you should own that and be proud of it. So definitely write the book, be brave, and don't let the naysayers tell you no. Just go.
There
Go
you
with it.
go. There you
Great.
go. Yep. Well said. The Dark Side of the Divine. Listen, look for that book on Amazon, everybody. And not only would it be great to grab a copy, is there an ebook on this one?
There is not an ebook on this
We
one.
got to make that happen. All right. That's your homework. Audience, I'll be back with you in a moment. You've got to make that happen because that's really a very easy thing to do on Amazon. And I mention it because sometimes people will, the price points are a little bit lower. It's a little bit easier to get. I happen to be a guy who travels a lot, so I like to read on my iPad. So I'll download books. So that's almost the equivalent of flicking a lever. It
Right.
shouldn't cost you anything. So let's get on that, you. All
Okay,
right.
we'll get on
Now,
it.
back to the audience. Soon there'll be an ebook on the Dark Side of the Divine, so make sure you grab a copy. Right now, you can get your paperback.
Paperback.
Good.
Correct.
Paperback. And because it sounds like a really interesting book. I was looking at it online, but it's lonely. It needs a few more reviews. So let's get some reviews. Let's get that book and get some reviews. It has been a pleasure getting to know you. I love what you said right at the end there because I think you were talking to you too.
Right.
That was probably a speech you gave yourself, but it is you're an author now and you're an artist in a sense, meaning this is a piece of work that will live beyond your years. And I congratulate you for doing it. And I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll do it again as well as we can next time. Until then, stay safe.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's guest author, we'd love you to rate, review, and share this episode with others. If you'd like more information on today's guest or the Maryland Writers Association, please visit our website at marylandwriters.org. You can also hear a brief history of the Maryland Writers Association by listening to episode 0.